mini grid and the rest. Okay, the next is technical challenge. The technical challenge is limited availability of infrastructure and facility to support renewable energy development in Nigeria. In Nigeria, the infrastructure, they are not there. The facility are not there to support renewable energy. For example, Nasini established a solar manufacturing company in Nigeria, and that the capacity is very limited. You cannot equalize that with a country with over 180 million population. You extrapolate that for energy demand, you see that there's a huge gap in terms of infrastructure to develop renewable energy technology that will meet the demand. So another one is a lack of operational and maintenance culture. That one is inherent in us somehow. The maintenance culture and operational regulation, sticking to the operational regulation is not really our culture per se. We need system that we put there and we want it to run forever. But in the domain of renewable energy and sustainable energy technology, it's not like that. It needs to be well maintained and well taken care of. So lack of research and development capability is another issue, another technical that is militating against sustainable energy. The institution, in terms of research and development, they are limited. We have seen where they establish center of excellence in oil and gas, center of excellence in offshore, center of excellence in this. Few are targeting the sustainable energy. So that one is another issue, because that is where we need to develop specific energy solutions that are targeting the specificity of Nigeria economy. So we are not, we have fear of that. So technology complexity. In the renewable energy, we have the range of technology that we could use. There are very many, and they all have their own standard. So, but the complexity surrounding it makes it impossible, as it were in Nigeria now, that to have a standardized metric to measure things that are coming into the renewable energy space. For example, photovoltaic panel, the battery, the wind turbine. We don't have standards that one will use to measure what is coming in. So there is technology complexity within that may likely or is likely depriving standardization. So standard component, as a follow-up, in Nigeria, we have more of unbranded components. When you look at the solar energy space, majority of the photovoltaic panel, they are unbranded, not really direct connection with established manufacturers. So because of that, we have occasionally have component failure. And if you look, or if you study the space, the solar photovoltaic space, one of the things they will tell you is that the components do not last long. So something that's supposed to last 5 years, for example, battery, within 1 year, that's kaput. So it's all these, there are challenges. The next thing is regulatory or policy framework. In fact, this the backbone of the challenges. One of them is ineffective policy by government. There are some policies there specifically targeting renewable energy. For example, the renewable energy and energy efficiency policy of Nigeria is there, and they made target. So, but if you look at the target they made with current what is on ground, and you see a very wide gap. So the reason is we have a policy, but they don't monitor and they don't evaluate. So it's an issue in the domain of the renewable energy or sustainable energy. Then another one is inadequate fiscal incentive. I think this one is also connected with the economic and financial space. tax, subsidy. In some climes, they give tax-free for importation of renewable energy. But in Nigeria, there's no specific policy targeting at that. In fact, I had encounter with importation of battery. I went through the custom regulation, so that batteries are heavily taxed. And these are the major components we need in solar photovoltaic energy. So some of all these things, they are not special consideration to motivate the penetration of sustainable energy, at least at this level. There are other administrative and bureaucratic complexity. If you want to establish any sustainable energy, you need to pass through some hurdles of regulation, planning, certification. So the very tedious and strenuous bureaucracy that is stifling the penetration of renewable energy in Nigeria, in practical government commitment. They made several commitments. If you read the revised nationally determined contribution of Nigeria, you see that renewable is given utmost presumed attention in the NDC. But the commitment to do that, judging from past narrative and what we have on ground now, the commitment is not actually there, and the commitment is dependent on political will. So they are not there. Lack of standards and certification. Some of if you go to the medical or the pharmaceutical space, you see that all the drugs that are coming into the country, majority of them are certified by NAFDAC. You see tires certified by SUN. You see other things certified by Standard Organization of Nigeria. But we don't see most of that in the sustainable energy space. So, and that allow people to show in not standard components or not fit to use components into the Nigeria space. So these are the regulatory framework. If you want to get more detail about this, you could also see this publication, Policy Pathway for Renewable Energy and Sustainable Energy in Nigeria. So this is what I have for you. Thank you very much for listening, and I will be happy to address any question that may come later. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rona, for that well-prepared presentation. I'm sure our participants have benefited a lot from it. Our next speaker is Mr. Damilola, whom we had called earlier. We trust that he's ready now to take the stage. Mr. Damilola,
you
have our attention.
Yeah, can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me?
You are very audible. Go on.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I'm pleased to join everybody today. Thanks to the organizer, and then thanks for the first presenter. I mean, it's so much interesting to hear of the figures and the statistical analysis and some of the practical impact of what a lot of us are not conscious about. So I would be giving my own take from the opportunity angle. So with your kind permission, I would go ahead to then share my screen. Thank you. Yes, just as I go ahead to share my screen, Mr. Anthony, could you confirm if the video would be able to get played so I would know how to go ahead with my timing? Mr. Anthony, are you there?
Yeah, you could, Mr. Damilola, you could continue with your presentation and we'll play the video subsequently. Thank you.
All right. Okay, I just want to be sure. That's why. Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so yes, my name is Damilola Hamid Balogun, and then I'm the founder and the chief executive officer of the Youth Sustainable Development Network, and that's what it stands for. And so my conversation with you today would be a bit kind of be different. It will be kind of different, and that would then push me up to the next thing as to what I intend to really talk about. And I think it's important to draw across some foundational concepts, which I think it's important that we all need to be conscious about. So yes, the first is the concept of newness. Newness, 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 newness. See, it is important that we come to realize that over time in the world, just as our phone, our laptops, our computers, they are always due for a system software upgrade. It is important that we also know that just as that, the world also happens to go through the same process. And I'm going to lay emphasis on what I am trying to explain, which is the concept of newness. You would agree with me that currently in the world, there is newness everywhere. And so the science and the architect of receiving that newness it is important we are able to articulate that, and we are also able to know how best to position in order to get the maximum benefit from the newness around the world. To make it quick as possible, you know, there was a time we were in the Stone Age. We had the Stone Age. Stone was basically used for everything we were doing. Stone was used for hunting. Stones were used for cooking. Stones were used for everything we were doing practically. And so right now, we are not using stones again, not because stones are not existing, but because we have found better ways of doing things. And so it is important for you to understand that before you are able to tap into the opportunity of this current discourse, you have to understand that we are talking about a concept of newness, something the world is really, really pushing towards. And everybody is talking about net zero. The United Nations is talking about net zero 2050. Last year at Glasgow in the United Kingdom, COP26, the Nigerian president pledged Nigeria to achieve net zero by 2060. So these are newness coming into the world. And so it is important that I also emphasize that, ladies and gentlemen, it is clear that from all of the analysis I've given so far, that the predominant era of a thing or the predominant era is not determined solely by the vanishing of a particular tool or a way of life. It only means that we are only finding a better way. So because we are not currently in the Stone Age does not mean that stone is not currently existing. Stone is currently existing, but we have just found better ways. In relating it down to today's discourse, it is important for you to also understand that fossil fuel has been the usual way. Now we're talking about climate change, we're talking about renewables. It is important for you to also understand that there are new ways emerging that the world is talking about, where you can clearly position if you have carefully articulate what you stand to gain, so you are able to get the maximum benefits, not just for yourself, but also within the community where you operate in. So that being said, I will then move on to the next thing on my screen here, which is, sorry, permit me, I mean IPCC. Sorry, it's not ICPC. I mean IPCC. So there is the latest Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reports. So on April 4th, okay, so the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, it's a UN, United Nations backed body that examines the science of climate change. It is important that you're able to you're able to clearly understand where I'm going, ladies and gentlemen. So on April 4th, rather, it was made clear that the issue of climate change is really, really devastating. And then we need to work towards addressing the impact of climate change as a whole. And so on April 4th, this body came up with a report. I'm sure some of us might be familiar with this report, but you also bear in mind that there is also the Paris Agreement, which says that we need to achieve the 1.5 degrees by by 2030. So we want to achieve the 1.5 degrees, and then also we also want to generally limit global warming. And so it is important that we are able to do all of these things with sustainable with sustainable way of living and with sustainable invention and innovation. So this report is basically telling us that the Paris Agreement in 2015 that said we should work towards limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees is basically fading off. It's saying that it's not looking possible, because if we are going to achieve that, then we are supposed to be able to reach the peak of emission by 2025, according to that report. And so it is important that we are able to tap into the aspect of renewable, clean, and affordable energy in order to limit global warming. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're a business person, if you're a researcher, if you're an advocate, if you're anything, I'm basically painting a picture for you to see the clear opportunities from everything I'm saying. First, you have to understand that there is a concept of newness. How does the business you're doing, how can it extend a bit further to cover for what the world is talking about? Because that's where your profit and impact lies. So moving on, you have to also understand that our report, in as much as dealing on climate change, has also said that for us to limit global warming the world is talking about, we need to make use of renewable form of energy. And so it's not only that, just to also buttress the fact that newness is in the world. A lot of us are familiar with the impact of Russia and Ukraine crisis, generally on how it is affecting the energy sector. And so it is important that we also know that Russia produces large quantity of oil and gas. In fact, it is responsible for over 60% of its produce to Europe, giving to Europe, selling to Europe as a major source of foreign exchange. But as a result of the Ukraine and Russia crisis, there are economic sanctions against Russia, and a lot of countries are pulling away from purchasing oil and gas and fossil fuel to gather up their energy sector from Russia. And so one thing you also have to bear in mind is that on the long term, it might not be easy right now, but on the long term, this war is basically pointing to the fact that there would be promotion of use of renewable energy. Use of renewable energies and use of renewable and clean energy is a long-term implication of this war. And so on that basis, you're able to see the concept of newness. You're able to see that we are currently in a world where things are changing. And also the world order, the IPCC has said in a report, and the implication of the Russian and Ukraine energy crisis is basically pointing to the fact that the future is renewable energy. All right, so I'll just go to my second slide. So yes, let's come down straight to Nigerian sustainable energy. Having painted the concept of newness and having explained what the world is talking about when we're talking about renewable energy and the way forward and the future that lies ahead, it is important for us to understand that right now, as I speak to you, only 26% of people have access to clean cooking, and 70% do not have access to electricity as far as Nigeria is concerned. So when we talk of energy, we are tempted to, please just.
Sorry, let's give Mr. Damilola a few seconds.
All right, I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry. It's just an emergency that came up, but I've been able to undo that. All right, so as I was saying, when we talk of energy, a lot of people think we're talking about electricity. A lot of people think we're talking about purely electricity. That's what a lot of people think, energy, electricity. But no, electricity is just one aspect of energy. When we're talking of energy, we're talking of having access to clean cooking. We're talking of buildings. We're talking of we're talking about everything revolving around what we do. We're talking about, because really, if you look at the concept of fossil fuel, if you look at the concept of energy, you are able to clearly see that fossil fuel being a source of energy is able to materialize into smaller products, talking about kerosene and then petrol and all of that. So when we're talking about energy, we need to also understand that there are deeper level to these things. And so as the United Nations Sustainable Energy for All has broken down on its website, they are able to clearly state several components of the energy aspects. So electricity is what is on everybody's mind, but as I still talk to you as the special representative of the Secretary General on the United Nations Sustainable Energy for All, Ms. Tamla Ogumbi would always say emphatically, she basically tells you that you will still not believe that over 500 million Nigerian women don't have access to clean cooking. And clean cooking has a direct implication on the health of everyone involved in that system. So we're talking about SDG 7 relating to SDG 3, good health and well-being. This is just for you to understand the whole concept of how energy is important and how it also interferes with other aspects of our lives. And so it is also important that I mention that, see, I have been able to participate in several international workshops and several conferences talking about United Nations Sustainable Development Goals as a whole. And then I was a participant at the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Glasgow last year. And so it is important. One thing that has come to me is that, see, everybody, it is important that we understand something. See, all of these things they're telling us, we have to be sure, are we just, because to me, I feel it is very Eurocentric and westernized. And so what do I mean by that? It means that for us as Africa and as Nigeria, we need to sit down and say, yes, how do we intend to address a lot of these problems? So I'm going to give you a clear example now. You know, when you're at an high-level engagement, say the United Nations, say the high-level dialogue on energy. So someone from Europe will basically tell you that, okay, let's promote the use of solar, let's promote the use of renewables, let's promote the use of that. Yes, all fine and good, but it's not like we don't want to do that in Nigeria. It's not like we don't know it's sustainable. But first of all, a major hindrance to this is socio-economic underdevelopment. So first of all, how many people have money to purchase these things? Second, how many people understand the importance of this thing? Even understanding is the smallest, but one big thing I know is a huge problem is the issue of the finance. How many people are able to afford all these things? They are very expensive. And so if we really want to walk down the line of sustainable energy, and so we have to put on the table that, listen, as Africa and as Nigeria as we exist, we understand that we want to drive down the use of renewable. We understand that we want to drive down the use of clean and other methods of generating energy. But it is important that before we address that, we need to address socio-economic development. It is only when people have money and they have access to finance that they are able to purchase this thing. One. Number two, it is only when people know better, they do better. How aware are people? How do people see these things making their lives better? And so all of these things, if they are addressed, we can then say, yes, we're on a smooth sailing. You can't tell a woman on the streets in Port Harcourt, in Lagos, say, okay, come and buy solar. She doesn't have the money. She really doesn't even understand what you're saying. So these are like problems I know that we have to tackle first. And these are like major challenges revolving around this thing, just to diverse a bit. So the next thing really now is I'm moving on to the future of sustainable energy. So
excuse me, Mr. Damilola, the video is ready, and we just want to remind you about your time. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I'm just done. Thank you very much. And so the next is technology. So recently, the Nigerian government, in collaboration with the United Nations Sustainable Energy for All, launched a technology known as the National Integrated Energy Power Tool. So basically, this is a form of a technology that is supposed to help provide data on how access to energy can be accelerated in Nigeria. Feel free to check it up and read more about it. And then renewables, yes, is the future. So if you're a business person, you have to understand that you're operating in the period of newness. And so you have to be able to position and articulate all of these things that you offer. So if as a student, you're a researcher, if as a trader, if as anything, a manufacturer doing the renewables, you have to be able to understand the terrain in which you play in and how you intend to bring these things down to people. So everyone talks about solar being connected to everyone's house, mostly for electricity purpose. But have you tried the angle of solar being connected to farmers that are able to generate water irrigation within their farmland to produce more farm produce? That's the way of you standing out. And so you are meeting the energy need in a different dimension. So it's important that we don't stay and sleep in the same place. We need to diversify. And so it is important for you again to understand this is a new era, and how do you want to position to give a different value to whatever you are doing. All right, so in conclusion, basically, I just have to say that, ladies and gentlemen, someone said success is when a man's time meets, when a man's time comes and is able to get prepared for it. So I think the time has come now. We need to just harness all of our strength together in order to position ourselves for towards the energy sector, talking about net zero in Nigeria by 2060. That's a long haul, but if we begin to position ourselves, I'm sure we're going to be able to make profits and impact. So that will be all. This is me. And then if you have any further questions, you can always reach out to me via ceo@ysdc.org.ng. If there's still a little bit of time, you can go ahead to play the video. The video basically talks about a solar irrigation project that my organization handled. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Damilola. Your presentation was very practical and easy to follow. Unfortunately, because of time, we would not be able to play your video, but we'll drop the link to the video on the chat so the participants can always go and watch it on their own. Within the chat, we have gotten questions from Insika Ndoma. We've also gotten questions. Sorry, there was a little technical challenge, so I just changed my system. So I was saying that we've gotten questions from a few participants. We'll be attending to those questions at the end of the meeting. So we'll be introducing our last, but definitely not the least speaker, Mr. Iruka. He's an energy policy analyst. He has a first degree from the University of Nigeria and also a master's. So Mr. Iruka, you have our attention. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So Mina, sorry, are you going to share my slides from there, or can I go ahead and share from here? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I said, are you going to share my slides, or I go ahead and share from here?
You can share from your end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can you see my slides? Hello, can you see my slides? Right. Hello, I can't get any feedback. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see your slides.
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Anthony, for this wonderful gathering that you have organized. Thank you to Tony Pash and of course, Dr. The first presenter, and of course, Mr. Damilola, who just spoke on the opportunities of sustainable energy in Nigeria. I'll be talking on the prospects, and of course, Somina has already introduced me, and that's just all you should know about me. My name is Hilary, and I have my master's degree in energy policy, so probably why I'm here to talk about the prospects in energy, sustainable energy in Nigeria. So I'll keep it short and simple. I'll just talk about sustainable energy, and I would have to talk about the prospects in terms of market opportunities, the prospects in resources, the prospects in technology, and of course, the prospects presented to us in policies. And then we'll go ahead and talk about the conclusion. Okay, of course, we all know what sustainable energy is, if we do. And of course, I believe most of us do. But meanwhile, I would like to start by saying, it is, of course, the generally understood as a concept of robust, effective, and efficient energy system that do not compromise the present and future social, environmental security and economic prosperity. That is, when we talk about sustainable energy, sometimes we use it interchangeably with renewable energy. It could be the same in some cases, of course. And what we intend to achieve by talking about sustainable energy is trying to use energy in a way that it does not compromise the supply, the environment, and the economic prosperity of those who live in the future, as well as those who live now. So by that, we mean reduction of pollution and the climate change effects that emanate from burning of fossil fuels. Now, by the prospects of sustainable energy in Nigeria, we look at how far renewables have come during the past decades and their potential to provide a larger portion of energy needs in the future. So basically, we'll consider areas of energy security, environmental integrity, climate change, and technological dimensions, while economic prosperity is being maximized. Now, to keep it straightforward, of course, I believe that not everyone here is in the energy field, so we would try to keep the jargons aside. So the Nigerian economy, of course, is a very potential market for the deployment of massive renewable energy projects, because we have the population, we have the funds there in terms of from the public perspective. But of course, we can say, given the low GNI per capita, that individuals might not be able to acquire these renewable energy technologies. But of course, the market is available. A country with over 200 million people and the GDP of $440 billion as of 2021. If you look at the macroeconomic variables, look at the dimensions of how the market plays, you see that the market is highly untapped because the population is there, and of course, the money is there also if properly structured. Now, the World Bank in 2021 also estimated that over 85 million Nigerians lack access to electricity, making Nigeria home to the most unelectrified population globally. It's quite unfortunate and appalling that Nigeria is home to the highest number of people without access to electricity in terms of countries, yeah? And similarly, the Honorable Minister for State Power admitted in 2021 that over 185 million Nigerians lack access to clean cooking. Yeah, sometimes we tend to take energy access to mean just electricity, just like Mr. Damilola said. Of course, it's not just about electricity. It has to do both with clean cooking. It has to do with everything beyond electricity, cooling and heating, however you'd say it. So that is why energy is quite broad. And of course, the market presents a lot of prospects for investment in renewable and sustainable energy in the country. And then we talk about the resource prospects. Now, we look at Nigeria as a country down the Sahara. So sometimes people call it sub-Sahara. Some people have issues with the concept of sub-Sahara. So I'll use the Southern Sahara, of course. So we see that most countries in sub-Saharan Africa, of course, have a high solar irradiance, because of course I can talk about prospects of energy in both solar in both hydropower, biofuels, whatever way you can talk about it. But then I would just focus more on solar energy because it is one of the most popular renewable and sustainable energy systems that we'll talk about not today. So looking at the map of Nigeria, you would see that some parts of Nigeria are more exposed to solar irradiance. Now, the daily solar energy density is around 12.6 megajoules per meter square per day in the southern part of Nigeria, and almost double at 25.2 megajoules per meter square per day in the far north, close to the Sahara. This means that if solar alone is harnessed in Nigeria, it could be enough to generate electricity for the whole Nigeria without adding any other thing to it. But of course, the technology is expensive. It requires a whole lot of land and financial resources to be harnessed. So it could be a challenge, but of course, it's a prospect that if harnessed, it could lead us to a new dimension, a new era in energy access in the country. Now, with a mean generation capacity of factor of 27%, according to Olayinka Ohunaki in 2014, you can see that it makes investments and projects in renewable energy, especially solar, viable in Nigeria, mostly in the northern part of Nigeria. So still go ahead and talk about the solar resources in Nigeria, which I would just want to show you more in the graphics here. You see some parts of the north that show a bit of yellow or reddish parts, somewhere around Maiduguri, Borno, those northeastern part of the country. They have more solar irradiance, unlike the southern part, which means if solar is properly harnessed just in the north, it is enough to power the whole of the country. But of course, it's a very big topic to be talked about in just 15 minutes. We look at the technological prospects. Of course, recently, there are a lot of technological breakthroughs in energy systems. And if they are harnessed, they can help to improve energy access, not just in Nigeria, but globally. Of course, we can look at some of the energy technologies that have not really been harnessed in Nigeria. We can look at wind turbines, we look at concentrated solar panels, we look at hydrogen, green hydrogen. These are all sustainable energy systems that can be deployed in Nigeria, but of course, we are still far from that. But however, I would choose to talk more on artificial intelligence, which of course today has been proven to be a great way of energy efficiency, which as well can lead to the harnessing of sustainable energy. Of course, today we are talking about smart grids, we are talking about smart metering, we have houses that have motion sensors that help to ensure energy efficiency. So these are some of the things we can look at, because as energy systems get smarter, there's going to be an increased demand for artificial intelligence solutions to manage the complexity of the operations. This will enable greener operations in implementing predictive maintenance or even solar and of course wind arrays. It could also have a significant role in corporate energy markets, enabling companies to reduce energy use and even supporting a decrease in emissions through managing a dynamic network of energy sources. There are a lot of ways we can talk about technological prospects in sustainable energy in Nigeria, but of course, we have quite a limited time, and I just chose to focus on this because it is an emerging field, and if we can look in this dimension, we can find better ways to manage what we already have so that we wouldn't have to spend more to get more. Okay. So the fourth area I'm talking about is on the policy prospects. And we all understand that policies can can open windows to development. Of course, in Nigeria, policy formulations is always the bedrock of all decision making in the energy sector, particularly from a public perspective. And of course, through policies, windows can be opened for the development of sustainable energy, renewable energy. Yeah, pardon me to use it interchangeably. So the National Energy Policy of 2003 provides a framework for the development of renewable energy in Nigeria. outlining specific policy objectives and strategies for each objective. Unfortunately, today we see that our energy generation from renewable energy, such as solar, is still far below, such as it is as low as almost 1% of the total energy generation in Nigeria, which is still far from what is obtainable in other countries. And we know that the renewable energy policy of Nigeria has given rooms for investments and expansion of the energy sector using renewable energy sources. But of course, this is also an opportunity that can be explored. But with time, we hope to see these things come to limelight. Now, through the Rural Electrification Agency of Nigeria, foreign agencies such as the GIZ, that's the German Foreign Ministry of Foreign Cooperation, have invested heavily in renewable energy generation in rural areas over the years. They have made investments in hundreds of millions of dollars that are highly visible in some parts of Nigeria under the Nigerian Energy Support Program. And of course, this has been made possible through policies that open doors to foreign direct investments, as well as stimulation of local investments through both the public and private sectors. Therefore, policies present a broad spectrum of prospects for sustainable energy adoption and expansion in a local context, both through the attraction of FDI, and of course, I've said this before, and this is not far-fetched for the Nigerian scenario, where the Energy Commission of Nigeria, ECN, continuously makes and reviews the best possible policies for the country's energy sector. And then finally, to conclude, I would like to say that Nigeria is well situated for an energy revolution that will see the dominance of sustainable energy resources in the overall energy generation. Now, these prospects are available in the form of markets, of course. Yeah, we saw the population is there, the market is there. We saw the resources, of course, they are there. We have water bodies, we have solar irradiance, we have rainforests that can produce us, and with biofuels. We have technologies that we can adopt to enhance the presence of sustainable energy in Nigeria, and of course, policies to make this come true. Now, this can only be achieved through an intentional and well-concentrated effort that is well-structured and consistently favored for a sustainable society. And in order to mince what I can say, it is not just a job of the government, it is a job of everybody, because the implication of CO2 emission and climate change is not going to be felt by just one person or just two persons. It's going to be felt by each and every one of us. Those who live in coastal areas, when they begin to witness floods, it's going to affect not just the people who refuse to agree with us on the importance of sustainable energy, but every person will feel the impact and the repercussions. So that calls for a revolution, as I said, of sustainable energy. And of course, we have seen that we have what it takes. All that is required of us right now is just the willpower to make this come true. Thank you so much. And I hope I've been able to make a little sense from my presentation. And I hope to get your questions and your feedbacks. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hilary Iruka. Your presentation was insightful, and our minds have been opened up to the prospects of sustainable energy in Nigeria. We are very sorry that we have overshot the time planned for this meeting, so we'll be taking a few questions. Some questions have been sent to the chat. The first of them is one from Insikan Udoma. So he says, what's the plan by individuals, organizations, or governments of Nigeria to pilot renewable energy as regards manufacturing and production? Or are we still dependent on developed nations by importing these machines like turbines, PV, battery, hence contributing to their GDP? So I think this question was asked after Dr. Rona's presentation. So Dr. Rona, you have our attention. Would you like to respond to this question?
Thank you very much. Yeah, let me just say a quick one. I try. some other presenter can also support. Yeah, but my quick thought would be that it's related to weak institutions. Let me just read a story. You know, when the oil and gas started, few Nigerians were part of the movie train. Just recently, we started getting our feet in the oil and gas sector. And at the same time, there is a hurricane, climate change mitigation hurricane, that is fast coming, moving away from the oil and gas sector. So there's a dilemma. We just got our feet in the oil and gas sector. Now we want to transfer to other sector, which is the sustainable energy sector. So what do we do? So that is why some institutions have taken it upon themselves to establish a specific course in the area of renewable energy technology, so that in the next 5 years, we do not rely on the foreign nations to start dumping things and we use. They dictate for us and we go that way. So for example, at the University of Port Harcourt, we have a special course on MSc Energy Access and Renewable Energy Technology. The major focus of that, or the mandate, is to produce high impact graduates that could transcend or move in the complex terrain of a renewable energy solution, but with specific solution to the Nigerian economy. So for now, as I also said when I was presenting, that we have a solar power manufacturing plant by Naseni, and others are still coming up. So it's a gradual process, but the process will not be like the one that took place in the oil and gas sector, that it took over 4 decades before we started finding our feet. So we are getting there, and it's not, it will never be in Nigeria's intention to start relying on foreign products before we advance our sustainable energy space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rona. And we have a hand has been up, Andy Williams. You could unmute and ask your question if you have one.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this great opportunity. My name is Andy Williams. Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
We can hear you, but it's not very clear.
My name is Andy Williams. I'm the Business Development and Strategy. Thank you for the great presentation on energy and renewable energy. My question goes directly to the nature of the country. We know very well that after the COP26, the recent one that was concluded at Paris, there was kind of policies and sanctions receiving nations that continue to play gas or emissions. And Nigeria was one of the countries too. So I want to ask the question, what is the future of renewable energy in Nigeria? What Nigeria has been doing towards achieving this goal? You know, a lot of companies have changed names to energy companies, like look at Tesla Energy, look at Total Energy, but we don't have any Congress plan to see how we can achieve net zero by 2050. Looking at those plants, they are still using fossil fuels, they are still using gas, and nothing has been done about the new energy part. So what are the practical plan or strategy for Nigeria to harness renewable energy? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andy, for your question. I don't know if any of the presenters would like to respond to that.
All right, so let me just go there. All right, so if I get your question correctly, your question really is what's the practical pathway to achieving net zero by 2060 as pledged by Nigeria, right?
All right.
All right, sir. Okay, without saying much, I mean, we just, like I said earlier in my presentation, we need to sit down as a country, we need to sit down as a continent and ask ourselves, how do we intend to incorporate this thing into our own geographical playground? Reason why this is important is that we shouldn't necessarily just follow everything that has been said. I know for one, Europe never likes the idea of seeing gas as a transition fuel. And Africa, specifically Nigeria, has a lot of gas. And just like the UN SRSG usually says, I mean, there's nothing wrong with Africa seeing gas that we have, natural gas that we have in excess as a form of energy transition, using it as a form of energy transition, because it is important that all of these things need to settle within our playground and we are able to carefully make things happen. I understand that also it also comes down to the fact that, yes, we know in Nigeria there are a lot of sun, we know that we have wind, we know we have all of these things. To actually go renewable, why have we not gone renewable? So one thing I know again is it's just a simple thing we always say from time to time: leadership. Whether we like it or not, the leaders we have are the ones responsible for the success of whatever we do generally in every sector. And so it's just like a presenter said, yeah, you see all these things in policies, you see them. I mean, everything, the hallmark of everything is policy statements. So all of these things, once they are in policy, once they are in the statements and everything is kept together, they are not really being implemented on. And so in order for us to, I mean, as cliche as it may sound, I think it's important that we target being in the affairs of directing things, because it's only when you're in the affair of directing things you can direct it right. As a private sector